All righty, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Scaling Brokerage podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Sonia. We're going to dive deep into being a brokerage owner, really get her insight on managing a thriving brokerage business. So, if it's your first time joining us, thank you so much for tuning in. Sonia, I'm going to give it over to you. Introduce yourself and introduce Sonia Curtis Properties.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for asking me. It's an honor to be asked. I have been in real estate in California, Los Angeles area since 2006. I got my license, and then, shortly after there was the crash. So I kind of went back to UCLA, got my degree, finished doing that, focused on a few other things. And I also had an entertainment industry background. So I went back to entertainment for a while. And then I came back full time into real estate in 2011. And in 2016, I got my broker license. So I've been running my independent S. Curtis Properties brokerage since 2016.
Awesome. What a crazy time to decide to get into real estate. So, wow. I mean,
Seriously.
walk me through that a little bit. You got into the industry. How did that go your first couple of years, obviously, before the market tanked?
Really rough. And that's something I always try to tell new agents. I think, agents are good at marketing. Good agents are good at marketing, right? And social
Absolutely.
media. And so we're showing the positives. We're showing the beautiful properties. We're showing what we see at the open houses. We're showing when we do get a listing or a sale, we're pumping it. And I think a lot of people assumed that we got the full 6% or whatever the number was of every transaction. It's like, no. And a lot of times you don't know that how many open houses you start out doing to get your first listing where you're not getting paid by the hour, and you're schlepping the signs and you're doing all this work and you're assisting others and you're networking, you're trying to get your leads. It's all about lead generation, especially in the beginning until you've established yourself, and then you can get repeat business and referrals. So the first year I tell my friends who were like, I'm going to get my real estate license, and they think they're just going to run out of the gate and make like $100,000 a year. I'm like, keep your second job until it's, you get it up and running, because real estate's commission only. And you pay for everything yourself, and I think that's another misnomer. I think that people assume that when you're with a brokerage that they pay for everything for you. You can negotiate that, but usually brokerages don't offer that to brand new agents. They usually offer that more to seasoned agents who are bringing in deals. See, so, and the other thing is people think, well, if you're with a big name, you'll just get deals. No, every deal I ever had when I was with a bigger name brokerage, I brought through my own relationships, through like a friend from high school referred me to his business partner, or actually I did meet people doing open houses, and that was a great way to start getting leads. But the bottom line was the first 2 years, there's no way I could have lived on what I made. I think the first year I made like zero, and the second year I made like $10,000, and then the third year I think I made $17,000, and that's before taxes and expenses. So you
Yeah.
really have to plan to ramp it up. It takes a little time to get established.
Yeah. I mean, getting into a commission only job, whether it's, you're a real estate professional or whether you're selling something else. I know what you mean. A lot of people want to step into being a sales professional and think that they're going to make $100,000 their first year. Those are the people who are on social media a lot. They only see the bright side of things. So, absolutely, I know how difficult it can be to, get into the industry of being a sales professional. A lot of people get chewed up and spit out. So the fact that you were able to, have a couple rough first years, and then, my goodness, the worst thing that could have ever possibly happened to the real estate industry happened, and you were able to get back into it. So take me back. I know you went back to UCLA. What did you go to
Mhm.
school for whenever you went back?
I actually went for political science. I
Okay.
don't know why. I just got fascinated when I was at my, I just wanted to get my degree in anything other than the entertainment industry. And
Yeah.
I thought, what would be something else where I could maybe make a living? Shouldn't have chosen political science, because really the only thing you can do with that is run for office, but that might happen. So,
Oh, that's
but
exciting.
Yeah, but I wanted to know about the workings of the government, and I wanted to understand more the global perspective. So my emphasis was political science with international relations and counterterrorism, believe it or not. Like I was studying a lot
Okay.
of that. Yeah, it was
Very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it was.
interesting.
Yeah, and it's been helpful because I think I can reach, I've had a lot of clients from all different parts of the world, Asia, Mexico, all over, and Japan. And so I think it's kind of nice, and Middle East, to just kind of have a wider view of the world perspective, not
Yeah,
just the United States perspective. It
absolutely.
was
I know
helpful.
a lot of us in America feel like the world revolves around us, but realize that it doesn't. So that's funny. I love that insight, being able to understand what the rest of the world has going on. So that's great. So went back to college. How long? I mean, I guess what made you to decide? You know what? Let's give this real estate thing another shot. What made you get back into it?
I was going through a divorce, and I literally, and my husband left in a day with no notice. And I
Oh
thought,
man.
okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, what can I do? And I gotten out of UCLA with honors. I graduated, and I'd been submitting resumes to hundreds of resumes to try and get like a regular job. Not one interview. This was again during, the crash. We were still rebuilding, and it was just very unfavorable time to get a job, let alone start a new career. I was having to compete with people who had been in these careers for years already with a lot of experience and things on the resume. So I just couldn't even get in. And so I was like, what am I supposed to do? And then a friend of a friend referred me to this real estate company, and she says, well, didn't you have your real estate license? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, we could use help with rentals in your area. So I said, okay. So I renewed my license to get that job. And then right before I finished the licensing, they filled the spot. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, so
goodness.
now I just did the time and the effort and the money to take the classes, and I got the license renewed. And I'm like, now what? And I thought, well, this is the door that seems to have opened, even though that door shut. This is the door. So I went back to my old manager at Keller Williams. He had transferred from the Studio City office to the Hollywood Hills office, and I loved the Hollywood Hills. I always wanted to get a house there myself, so I loved that area. And so I called him, and we had a meeting, and he said, well, we've got a lot of young blood here. It's a hot office. If you hustle, you'll do well. So I went back and started there, and I did. I hustled. And even though I had started working as an actress again too, because that door opened up again as well. I was producing some short films and theater, and got a couple of little parts offered to me in movies, co-starring roles. It wasn't enough to live on. So I thought, okay, you have to just pull up your big girl panties and put that dream of acting over here, because you have to make a living. So I focused 100% on real estate, and I just was at all the classes. I was at all the networking events. I did all the open houses I could, like I said. And I think that passion, or the drive, I had such a need to survive. So I was just focused and driven. And I think that translated well because I hustled, and I was able to get a listing in the Hollywood Hills. And then that turned into another listing and another listing from the same open house. So that's how I started.
That's amazing. One door closed and a window opened, and you jumped through it and made the most out of it. And now here you are. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
and this year though, I got to tell you, this year or last year has been one of the hardest years again, and it's because again, the economy, it's, even though historically interest rates are still not as high as they've been 20, 30 years ago, right? But our inflation is way higher now. A gallon of milk is $6 today, whereas 20 years ago it was maybe 80 cents. I don't know, $1.80. So it's we've almost quadrupled the cost of living, but the cost or the income hasn't quadrupled for the average American. So that 7% interest rate compared to the 2.5, 3 that we were at 3 years ago,
mhm.
it really hurts. Plus, the insurance is killing the home buyers because of all these fires and things that have been going on. And I personally think there's something nefarious going on with that, but because it's just way too many in too many places. It's just not natural.
That'd be a
But
good topic for a different podcast.
for a different day.
Yeah.
But anyways, the bottom line is it is driving insurance costs so high. So to give you an example, if you're a buyer, a first-time buyer, let's just say you make 50K a year. In LA, that would be impossible to own. But let's just say, because I'm talking to the US, right?
Yeah.
And let's say your debt to income ratio has to be, your total debt can't be more than 40% of your income, right? That's including your house, car, student loans, everything. So your house payment, if you get a mortgage and it's $1,600, and then now your house insurance is $300 or $400, plus if you have an HOA, that's $200 or $300, plus your taxes are another 100 or you know what I'm saying? Even for a smaller, modest priced home, at least, well, definitely in LA, anything under 500K, you can't really get in LA, but barely. So you are priced out of the market. You just can't, because your debt to income ratio numbers won't work. So the only other option a buyer has, other than waiting for the interest rates to drop, are save up more money to put a bigger down payment to then adjust that debt to income ratio and clean up their credit, because credit score does affect your interest rate too. If you have bad credit, you're going to be paying a higher premium on your interest for your mortgage. If you have excellent credit, you're still going to be paying more than we were 3 years ago, but you're going to get the best rate.
Absolutely.
So it's
That
just
definitely makes
tough.
sense.
It's just really shook out the market. There's just not a lot of buyers.
So I guess that kind of leads us into a little bit more into the future. A door closed, a window opened. You were able to jump into the brokerage and start to do some transactions. Took a couple years, but eventually you decided to open your own brokerage. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what was the thing that made you want to transition from being an agent to becoming a broker?
Great question. It's funny. I had this vision, because after going through my divorce and losing my house to my ex and having to scramble to get back on my feet, it was hard. I thought, wow, a lot of women, particularly, not always women, but a lot of times, it's whoever the breadwinner was. My ex-husband was the biggest breadwinner. Usually are the ones that really have a hard time after a divorce, single moms and divorcees. So I thought, what can I do to help women who are in this situation? And because I had a really hard time getting back into home ownership after, because again, I was income, commission only, self-employed, taking my deductions. I couldn't quite meet that debt to income ratio, especially not in Los Angeles. And I thought, but I'm spending so much money on rent. And even though I couldn't qualify for a modest mortgage, I found a great deal in the Hollywood Hills, actually, during the crash. But I couldn't qualify for that mortgage, which would have only been $900 a month. But
Crazy to think about these days.
the rent that I qualified for, that they put me, was $1,800 a month. And I'm like, this is insanity. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I thought, what can I do to help women like me, or men, if it's the opposite, get back into home ownership after a tragedy or a setback? And I thought, oh, it'd be really cool if I could raise enough money to buy a bunch of distressed properties or rundown properties, hire a team to flip or to fix them up, have like a bunch of contractors and handymen and stuff available to fix them up, polish them, maybe not make it top of the line, but make it livable and clean. And then offer that house with a lease option to a woman or single family mom, with kids, who could start with a lease if she didn't have the money to buy, but then apply a portion of her rent every month towards the purchase, and help her with her credit, help her like guidance with money management, and the motivation to say, look, if you can pay your rent on time every month, and you do this for 2 years, you're going to have this much down. And we could do a deal where you can own the house, and either we could be the bank, or I could get private financing. My biggest trick to that was finding financiers who would do it to keep the the mortgage low enough, because let's face it, people in the money industry, they want to make money. And so they charge the most interest they can get. So that was my trick. I had a hard time with that. But people, when I interviewed them, they said, well, the first thing you have to do if you want to do this vision is become a broker. And I was like, oh, okay. So that is why I became a broker.
I love
Not to
that.
have my own
That's amazing.
brokerage. Yeah, just to
Yeah,
help
so
women.
I feel like the common theme in a lot of these episodes really comes back to serving others.
That's
Um,
it.
yeah, the most successful people in the industry are those who
Mhm.
are willing to help others.
That's it.
I love that. Being a sales professional for a while, everybody that I feel like I've learned a lot from, the name of the game is serving others. So I love that that's how you got started.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I survived this last year. Like, just being willing to kind of go the extra mile. The last few deals I've done, actually, three of the last few deals I've done were really difficult because two of them involved a person had passed away and their home had been left in shambles. And then one of
Mm,
them, like drug addicts, moved in and took over and trashed the place. Animals died in it. I mean, it was bad. I went to town cleaning and organizing and purging and getting, doing the best I could with taking photos and marketing it. And we got it sold. The second one, or another one, same thing. It was a widow. When her husband passed away, she just left the house. She loved her husband so much she couldn't bear to sell it, but she also couldn't bear to live in it. So it was basically an abandoned house for like 25 years. And talk about needing cleaning. When I went in there, and there were some leaks in the roof and everything, but I got a team of people that wanted to help a widow. And I said, look, can we just help this lady? And so four guys showed up to help. And within 3 or 4 hours in one day, we whacked the weeds, we took out the trash, moved out the furniture, took out the stuff. It was a lot of hard work. But I'm seeing a theme, and what I've noticed is if you're willing to work hard and do the extra, for those people in need, the money isn't as high. When I made a $2 million sale, it's a lot more money than a $600,000 sale of a distressed property, obviously, and it's a lot more work. But it's like you said, it's about service, and it's about, look, if I had 10, $20 million deals in the pipeline, yeah, I probably would have referred that one out. Let's be honest, because it takes so much time.
mhm.
But I had the time because of, like I just shared, the market was really slow. And I was like, well, this is it. She needs help. I need the work. Just roll up your sleeves and do it.
Make it happen.
You know,
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
what you do.
transactions don't happen in this market without the hard work. So that definitely makes sense. So that
Mm-mm.
kind of transitions me into, so like how are you marketing your brokerage out, not only for clients and transactions, but also for agents? What does your marketing look like right now?
Mostly, I do the old fashioned, like, I like personal referrals. I know that isn't the big money making, go out and capture everybody. I've tried with other brokerages where they offered, like, we'll buy leads and stuff. I've tried the postcard mailings to the farms. I've done all those things that they recommended. And I've found, for me, the thing that always worked was the one-on-one and the referral. So for me right now, like, I'll walk around my neighborhood all the time. I have two little dogs and I'm constantly walking, and I say hi to the neighbors. I talk to people. And if I see someone like cleaning their house, or, I'll just start talking to them. And if they need help with anything, like, I'll recommend my guy or my gal to, a vendor that I know. And then I just kind of let them know that that's what I do when it's organic. But mostly it's community organizations, it's networking with, it's friends and family, and it's social media.
Yep.
Because again, when we did the paid lead generation, a lot of people go on those things and they put in a false email or a false phone number, a false name. Most of those paid ones are fake. That's just been my experience. Now, I know some agents have gotten some. I also know a lot of agents like cold calling. Personally, for me, I have that adage, do unto others as you would do to yourself. I don't like being cold called. I'm busy. I don't like it. I just don't. And so even if but sometimes a person has a really good personality and they're really nice and they got you in a good mood and you have the time, great. But I just don't, for me, I don't like doing it. And I know I'm probably like going against a lot of bigwig broker advice, to say that, but that's just me. For me, it's not about necessarily me becoming a multimillionaire. It's about being of service. It's about paying my bills the great old fashioned way, like you earn your money the honest way, and you feel good about yourself and you can look at yourself in the mirror and put your head on the pillow at night and sleep well because you're making a difference helping people and you earned your keep. You worked. It feels great. I love helping. I do love helping people. And my friend, for example, she let me sell her house in the Valley. And it was during the time where sellers really had an advantage because there were so many buyers in the market when the interest rates
Mm-hmm.
were low. And this was before the insurance went up and it was like 25 buyers to one listing, right? Easy.
Yeah.
And so we did, again, she listened to me. She let me, I love helping stage the place, clean it. I advised her because they'd lived there for over 20 years. You get used to your own stuff, your own furniture and your own life. And it got a little bit, lived in and a little cluttered because she has kids. So I said, okay, let's go through and remove all the clutter, remove all the personal stuff except for a few choice things for decorations. I'll help you pick them out. We wanted to purge the big pieces of furniture that she wasn't going to take with her. She was moving out of state. I could put them in the garage, and when you can, either sell it on Facebook Marketplace or just donate, but get it out of the house because it looked small. When you stage it properly and you get the right sized furniture and the place and you put it in the right places in the room where people can walk in and it's open, then people can envision their furniture and they can envision their life there. See, if someone else's life has taken over a property, their life is all over it. And that
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that if they're going to keep the house. But if you want to sell the house, you need to open it up like a blank palette. But it has to be a tasteful palette. So that's one of my things too, is I love helping people stage. Even if it's like we don't have a lot of budget, I'll use what you've got. We could go to the thrift store, we'll do whatever. But a lot of it is purging and cleaning. That's a
Yeah.
big part of it. But we
Yeah.
got multiple offers. And I ended up selling it for 90,000 over asking. And the last offer I was negotiating, I had two offers that were the highest bidders. I was able to negotiate and get the last one to go up another 20K. So for those people who are thinking that we are overpaid, let me just tell you that one conversation that I had knowing how to negotiate these two, I was able to get $20,000 more from my client in one conversation. My commission was about 20K. So not to mention all the other prep I did to help her walk through with inspections and staging and knowledge and knowing how to market it. And, there's that saying, strike while the iron is hot. When you get a new listing, you got to move now. You want to get it sold now. So I like doing the work before. I like doing the prep work before I hit the market. I don't just throw something on the market as is. I mean, you can, if that's what your seller says, just try it. But I will look at the place, and if there's any way to make it better and make it easier to market and so that the buyers will want it, I want to do that before I list it.
Absolutely. And I can
I mean,
tell
not
just by
before I list
talking
it.
with you, you're a big personal touch kind of person. If they're not going to do anything, they're just going to list the house as is. You might as well just start calling investors. I'm sure you can find someone that'll buy it in about 2 seconds. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So that's amazing. I can really appreciate you wanting to add that personal touch. I know clients appreciate the crap out of that personal touch. If you can't appreciate getting an extra 20 grand for your house, I don't know what you can appreciate. So that's amazing. So, Sonia, tell me, what do you see for the future of your brokerage 2, 3, 5 years down the line? What do you think is gonna happen? What do you think you want to do with your brokerage?
There are, I mean, I'm open to taking some agents that are seasoned, or even if they're new, as long as they are teachable and trustworthy, and they let their yes be yes and their no be no. Meaning, if you tell me you're going to show up, you're going to show up. If you tell me you're available to go do this, you're going to show up and you're going to be on time. You know, I'd love to build a team, but it doesn't, again, I'm not looking to build a huge team, because to me, the personal touch and the integrity are so important. Um, I lost conversely on another deal. I lost a $20,000 commission because I insisted my seller disclose a leak that had prior mold damage, and she didn't want to. And I said, but you know, you fixed it, whatever, just disclose it. You know, not every buyer is going to walk away just because there was a leak. Let's face it, there's leaks in lots of properties and buyers still buy. But to not tell the buyer is the problem. It's dishonest. So I was like, we just got to tell them. And she goes, no, I'm done. And she fired me and got another broker to sell her house who didn't know about the leak, because I helped her buy it. So I lost a $20,000 commission and did months of work because I was honest. But, you know, so it can bite you in the butt too. But again, I'm looking at the long haul of, I want to build my brand as being trustworthy, hardworking, people-oriented, service-oriented. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. You know, that is so important to me, because in this world, the last deal I was working on was another widow who was in the hospital. I was trying to help her. And I got her house totally cleaned out, worked my butt off. I hired people to help. We cleaned it top to bottom. It looked amazing. Multiple offers. And in my area where I live now, north of LA, properties sit on the market for 6 months all the time without movement. I got 3 offers. Well, one was a verbal, 2 written in 1 week. And we got an escrow within 8 days for over asking with excellent terms. Okay. Here's the problem. Even though I vetted the buyer's lender and I reviewed their information, I reviewed their pre-approval, I called the lender immediately to make sure that the lender is on their game. He told me he was. There was no bad reviews on him. He said he had done all this. So I was like, okay, it was a different type of loan. It was like a business loan, and I was like, I've never done that. And he goes, oh, you could Google it. It's done, blah, 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 blah. He promised me we close escrow in 3 weeks. Nope. At 3 weeks, they needed an extension. Gave him an extension. 4 weeks needed an extension. 5 weeks needed. He kept kicking the ball. And I was getting really mad because this lady needed the money to move into a long-term care facility. And I was her power of attorney as well. So it was a very sticky situation. I was trying to help her. She signed everything, but I was just like, okay, this is not okay. The bottom line is the lender's word was not the truth. He could talk and talk and talk and not perform, and had absolutely no problem making promises that he didn't keep. And that shocked me, because I'm like, how do you stay in business? How do you ever get a job done if you don't perform what you say? How do you keep trust? How do you keep client trust? You know what I mean? It's just, these are people's lives and their biggest investment. You have to be trustworthy, but he wasn't.
Sadly, there's a bit of a common theme. If we go ahead and flash back to 2008 again really quick, pretty much the very, very similar problems were happening. Lenders, I mean, obviously way worse back then. Lenders were just not trustworthy and everybody was getting approved. I know this is a little bit different, but sadly, the real estate industry is just in a state where not everyone can be trusted. So obviously that personal touch and really wanting to vet and, you know, have the same culture as the agents that you want to bring on is incredibly important and can definitely be really difficult. So that's great. I love that take. Future of the brokerage, maybe wanting to expand a little bit. Do you have any plans for expansion? I know you kind of mentioned doing a little bit with social media and stuff like that. What are you doing with your social media right now? And are you doing anything to attract agents through that?
Haven't really been focused on attracting agents as much as, again, one-on-one. And ironically, I've had several friends tell me, they're like, oh, we want to be in real estate. And I'll mentor them. And they'll call me all the time for advice. And then they'll sign with a big brokerage. And then they call me for advice. And well, they're not there for me. But I'm like, then come here. I will mentor you. But don't ask me to mentor you and pay their pocket. That's just bad.
Yeah.
You know? But
that's just bad business.
I'll still help some. But but you know, it's just sometimes people can't get over that my name is small and it's a boutique brokerage, but that's why I'm working so hard on the relationships and the building trust. And I would rather have one solid agent who I can work really well together with a synergy, because two can get a lot done more than one, but I would not want the wrong one. You have the one, just like that lender killed the deal. You have one bad apple, you can kill the business. So I'm not just throwing a wide net. I really want to make sure it's people that I can trust, that perform, that will be mentored, and help me. And then I'll help them. I want teamwork.
That's the name of the game. How many agents do you have now? Remind me.
Two.
To date. Oh, okay.
Just
Love it.
two.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And one of them is just referring right now. Because she's in between states. So she didn't want to be
Okay.
out there hustling and doing it all. And because, again, to do real estate, you have to pay a lot of money. You have to pay broker fee, you have to pay California Association of Realtor dues. You have to pay MLS dues. You have to pay super fees, those little key boxes. Realtors pay for those. To go unlock a door, we pay for that every month. You have to pay for your signs. Those are several $100s. You have to you do all your marketing online. I create my content usually because, again, I have a background in Hollywood. So I have a pretty good eye for photographs and stuff. And so I am putting music and video together. I'm learning how to edit. I'm not that great at it, but I'm getting there. But I do get some good responses with that. So I do Facebook, Instagram. I have it on X, so I have it on a few social media platforms. And then YouTube. I have my YouTube channel, S. Curtis Properties. But again, it's been more the personal touch, which takes more time.
It does. It really does. And that kind of a flashback to what you were saying earlier. I know, like doing postcards and stuff like that and cold calling. It's just really, really difficult to do those and add that personal touch that you're talking about. So that definitely makes sense. So as we're starting to bring this in for a close here, if you had to give yourself a piece of advice whenever you were starting from scratch, let's call it after 2008, because that's a little bit of a, there's only so much advice you could get before 2008. So whenever you're getting back into the game, I mean, what would you tell yourself to get yourself back to the point you are now and beyond?
I mean, I would tell myself focus full time, which I did. Try to make it a full-time group, but keep some side hustle, because the income growth takes time. I would teach myself to be careful. Not everybody is trustworthy. And just because you come with the best intentions doesn't mean everybody you're dealing with does. A lot of people will promise you the moon, but they don't deliver. So you have to really learn how to cover yourself, in that situation. I'll just add, with the last deal I did, I would have had my lender, who I trust extensively. He's amazing. He's gotten so many deals done for my buyers in difficult situations. He gets it done. If he can get it done, he gets it done. I would have sent the buyer to him, but the buyer was referred by the lender. So it was like his, so I didn't have that option. But that being said, you've got to make sure, do the extra legwork, be of service. That's what I would say. Just be of service. I probably would have focused on being of service sooner. I don't know still that I would recommend cold calling. It might have gotten some more deals, but for me, I don't feel right about it. So I can't advocate that. I would say do open houses to new agents. Do a lot of open houses if you can.
That's great. I love that. Like I said, the name of the game tends to be serving others. What you want is on the other side of helping other people get what they want. So that is amazing. This has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Let our viewers know. I know you mentioned you're growing the social media. Where can we find you on Instagram, X, everything you got? Give it to us.
Thank you. It's S. Curtis Properties. And it's that way all the way across on YouTube, on Instagram. I have a Facebook business page, S. Curtis Properties, and I have it on X, S. Curtis Properties. And what was I going to say? Oh, and the reason, just so you know, the reason I chose S. Curtis rather than my full name, Sonia Curtis, is because I wanted to be gender neutral. You
There you go.
know?
I know whenever I got on with you, I said Sonia Curtis Properties, and I did look, obviously, I did a little bit of research on you and saw that it was S. Curtis, but it just came out that way. So
That's okay, but that's why, and just because that way, some people may prefer that. I don't know. I just felt like it was a wider swath, you know?
good for branding, right? I love it. So, Sonia, this has been an amazing episode. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, everybody tuning in to another episode of the Scaling Brokerage podcast. So we will see you again soon. Thank you so much.